Hello, every pony, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays. After last week's little fun Doom extravaganza, I think it's about time we took a little while to enjoy the finer things in life. Now, one thing you might not guess from judging from the prevalence of Sailor Moon fics is that, yes, I am a fan of certain Magical Girls series. One of my favorites, heck, the only one that I love that matches even close to my love of Sailor Moon, is Witch. Witch. What can we say about it? It's awesome, it's beautiful, and it's well done. But one of the things that's ticked me off the most, actually the only thing I hate about Witch, is that it fell under the Wiseman curse. Now, what is the Wiseman curse? Well, if you look up Greg Wiseman, who is a writing god, you'll note that a lot of the stuff that he's the head of lasts only 2 seasons, and the same goes for Witch. It only lasted 2 seasons and ended on one of the world's worst cliffhangers. It sets up everything for the next season, and it just drops. But that's what I love fanfics, and that's what I love fandom for. There's this nice little author out there called MEridian who's written not one, not two, but 3 seasons for our girls. And that's what I decided to read today. So, join us, won't you, as we here at the Treeberry Memorial Bookstore is proud to present Witch, the first few chapters of Witch Season 3. Enjoy, won't you? Witch Season 3 by MEridian. Of all the no down, dirty, no good, rotten... Nice to see you too, Whale. Will threw her knapsack down on the floor and sat on a stool with her arms crossed. Irma, Tarani, and Haylin looked at her, faintly trying to hide smiles. Tuesday? Dean gave me detention. Me! Why, Will? Said Irma, with a trademark smile. Surely you don't expect better treatment just because he's dating your mom. The girls were enjoying one of their first breaks since defeating Cedric yesterday. Although the mood was good, other than Will's, the energy was not. It was clear that the last month of battles had taken their toll on all of them. The fact that it was a Monday was not helping matters. They had agreed to meet in the Silver Dragon's basement after school, which is where they were now. Shut up, Irma, growled Will, giving her friend a look that would melt steel. He knows how tired I am for defeating Nerissa, Phobos, and Cedric. No, he doesn't, added Tarani before she could help herself. Well, Will said as he gritted her teeth, you should at least know about my date with Matt tonight. Let me get this straight. You're in a bad mood because we saved the universe and you have a date? Halen laughed a little at Irma's comments. She was glad for the opportunity to sit and talk with her friends, without planning strategy. Even Will smiled. I'm not in a bad mood, Irma. I guess I'm just tired. Cornelia and I spent the entire day sleeping in class. Hence the detention. Tarani, getting a little laugh from everyone. Will suddenly looked up. Hey, did you get the heart? Sure did, Aelin said, holding the glowing talisman back to his rightful owner. Sure was nice of Cornelia to give the Meridian Knights a hand in putting the world back together. Sorry, Irma. I think she was more worried about one Meridian Knight in particular. Meridian. Elion stood on her balcony, overlooking the various construction problems underway in the once beautiful city. All in all, things could be worse then, as he thought. After all, she was free, the world was safe, and she had her best friends beside her. And yet, for the second time in many years, Meridian was rebuilding itself from the ashes. Cornelia stood beside her, Caleb's arm around her shoulder. She caught Aelion's glance and smiled. The people of Meridian seem to be recovering quite well. A lot of houses are half rebuilt already, Cornelia said, turning her gaze on the city. Caleb frowned. They're getting used to it by now. Maybe if they had a ruler who wasn't getting imprisoned in jewels every couple of months, they wouldn't have to, said Elion. Caleb walked over to her and put his hand on her shoulder. It wasn't your fault, Elion. You must believe that. I wonder how long it'll take before people get sick of saying that, Elion muttered, before Caleb can respond. Il- Ilion? Yes, Mother. We're out here. Mariodel walked down onto the balcony and gave Caleb and Cornelia a smile. She had been through so much through the years, especially the last couple, but still managed a confident air. Ilion hoped she had inherited her mother's strength, until she had remembered Mariodel wasn't her real mother. Ilion, the council would like to talk to you about the prisoners. Can you spare a minute? Ilion cast a sideways glance at her friends, who both smiled and nodded. Of course, Mother. Tell them I'll be here shortly. Muriel nodded and left. Ilion turned to her best friend. I'm sorry, Cornelia. We'll have to talk some other time. Sure thing, Ilion. I'll see if I can come this weekend. Cornelia replied. The two of them hugged. Caleb saluted her as she sighed. She hated when he did that, and he knew it. I feel bad for her, Caleb said after Ilion had left. She feels like she let everyone down again. I wish she knew how the people in Meridian felt about her, how much they trusted her. She's just going through a tough time. The important thing is she's safe, Cornelia replied. Caleb just stared into the distance. She is safe, right, Caleb? I wish I knew. Meridian's a big place. Who knows what else is out there? Cornelia gave him a kiss on her cheek. You'll protect her, honey. It's what you do best. Caleb gave a sly smile as he looked at her. You have a plan already, don't you? Cornelia said. Caleb looked back at the city. Well, maybe just a little one. Heatherfield. Meanwhile, somewhere in Heatherfield, in one of the tallest buildings in the city, gears are turning. An old man sits in a dark room, staring at 5 pictures. Before him, a computer hums and keeps its own beat with a series of flashing lights. The man takes a sip of his coffee and continues to study the picture. Soon, he thinks to himself, very soon, there will be justice, and the gears keep turning. Meanwhile, in a familiar restaurant, a familiar couple is having their meal. Normally, Will and Matt would go somewhere other than the Silver Dragon for their dates, but today they were both thankful for their familiar surroundings. Matt was studying his date, who, in turn, was studying her meal. Tough day at school, huh? Matt said. Yep. Yala makes a great dinner, doesn't she? Yep. You don't like the fact that I have powers again, do you? Nope. Will looked up from her plate, realizing he had been tricked. I guess I should have thought of that for a second before answering that. Yep. We've been through this already, they both said at the same time. Look, I just don't think it's a good idea for you to put yourself in danger all the time, Will said, putting down a forkful of noodles. But it's perfectly A-okay for you to do it, Matt replied with a skeptical look. Will thought about it for a moment. She knew where this conversation was coming, and she knew what she wanted to say. But for some reason, it didn't seem as good as an argument now as it once did. It's different for me. I was chosen, she said at last. I was chosen too, Matt said. Maybe it's destiny. Will raised an eyebrow at her boyfriend. She also chose a mouse and a cat, she said. Matt gave her a serious grin. Cats can't have destinies? Will laughed at the silliness of the argument. Look, maybe this isn't the best time for that. Let's just enjoy our meal. Maybe that's my destiny. Stop it. Will smiled again. It was good to be back. It's something about the classes. That's what it is. All 5 girls were sitting and eating for what passed at lunch at Sheffield. Today featuring mystery meat and tuna surprise. Martin has glasses, but you don't like him, Helen told Irma. Please, Irma laughed. Martin's had the lame glasses of a nerd. My beloved has the sophisticated glasses of a true professional. Tarai rolled her eyes as Helen sighed at Irma's stubbornness. Cornelia took a deep breath and said, I know I'm going to regret this, but who are you talking about? Mr. Celia, said Irma in a dreamy voice. Now you done it, Tarai said. So he has to stop talking about him all day. What happened to Andrew Hornby? Asked Will. Andrew who? Replied Irma, snapping out of her stupor. Mr. Celia. Oh, you mean the new computer teacher, said Cornelia. Irma sighed. Yes, Carney. The computer teacher. Isn't he dreaming? The girls looked at each other. We already have boyfriends, they said as one. Irma just glared at him. Downtown Heatherfield, there's a building known only as the Institute. It was bought for a large sum of money about 2 years ago. In fact, it was only bought 2 weeks after Yan Lin gave Will Vandam the heart of Kandrakar. Since then, very little is known about it. Rarely has anyone seen anyone going in or out of it, and the few people who have always described the same man. The man is currently sitting at his desk, surrounded by humming computers, beeping lights, and moving gears. He is talking on the phone, and is happy for the first time in a very long time. Excellent. All 5. Excellent work. What? Use it to your advantage. Have they shown any signs of magic? We need confirmation! You keep working then. You know your orders. Do not report back until you have confirmation. I am very busy. Goodbye. Click. He hung up the phone and returned to his work. Time is running out, girls, he thought to himself. Soon everything will be set right. Soon, but for now, there's work to be done. Chapter 2. Preparations. MEridian. After the defeat of Phobos a year ago, there were many celebrations the following week. After Phobos was defeated the second time, there were none. It's not that the people of MEridian weren't happy that the tyrant was defeated. They just wanted to get on with their lives and forget the whole thing happened. In fact, Elion made only one public announcement, 2 days after the battle, and it had nothing to do with Phobos or Nerissa. She announced to the city that there was to be a royal expedition to the Infinite City, in order to find out some of the secrets that the caverns held. Those going consisted of 20 men and women, a mixture of soldiers and elders. There was also one passlink going. Normally, this type of project wouldn't be announced publicly, but as Elion put it, the people of MEridian need to know we are progressing into the future. Caleb thought the whole thing was very political. He was asked to lead the team, but declined, saying he had other work to do. Will and Cornelia both cursed Tarani for living in the opposite direction. It was an amazingly cold day, and they both would have liked to have Tarani's fire. Cornelia's house was a little out of Will's way, but she followed her friend anyway so she could get a cup of hot chocolate before heading home herself. Cornelia's parents were both out, and Lily wouldn't be home for another 30 minutes, which gave the girls the opportunity to talk to the cat. Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, I get to do an Asner impersonation. I say about another 40 years at least, Napoleon said, curled up on Will's lap. There must be some way to speed up the process, said Will. These things take time, though, Napoleon replied. Magic's a tricky thing. Rushing it will only make things worse. Why do you care so much anyways, Will? Cornelia said between sips. I just thought that, Lillian's powers could give us a major advantage in, the fight against good and evil, Will stammered. Cornelia didn't believe Will in the least, and one look at the cat told her Napoleon felt the same way. But then they were interrupted by a giant, floating, bald head. Zordon! MEridian. Secretly, Drake and Tynar liked construction projects. They would never say that, of course, because then they wouldn't have to do more of them. Still, there was something very soothing about watching buildings being built instead of torn down. The fact that one was trying to kill them didn't hurt either. And so it was that they were working on the 3rd floor of an inn when all of a sudden, Hey, you two! Drake and Tynar looked down from their work to see Caleb standing below them. All 6 of the other workers also looked down. Oh, just Drake and Tynar. Sorry. What do you want, Caleb? We're having a meeting in 2 hours. Main council room. Queen's orders? Nope, my orders, yelled back Caleb. Since when do we take orders from him? Whispered Drake with a smile. Shh. You get us both in trouble, Tynar whispered back. We'll be there, Caleb. Satisfied, Caleb headed back into the castle, a determined look in his eye. Will had seen a lot of things as a guardian, but seeing the Oracle's big, shiny, translucent head, I refer to you to the Zordon joke 5 seconds ago, appeared in Cornelia's living room, still made her jump. It also made her spill her hot chocolate all over Napoleon. Hey! Do you know how hard it is to get chocolate out fur? Guardians, said the Oracle's head, ignoring the sulky cat. Pay heed at once. What is it, Oracle? Asked Will, standing up to the face. Will! Cornelia interrupted. Lillian will be home any second! Don't worry, doll, said Napoleon, heading to the door. I'll handle the kid. Will, said the Oracle, oblivious of the distraction, you must gather up to the Guardians and bring to Kandakar at once. Of course, Oracle. We'll come immediately. Thank you, Will. And with that, the Oracle disappeared, leaving the two girls once again alone. One day, Will, you're going to have to stand up to that man. I don't know, Cornelia, said Will, getting out her cell phone. He looked stressed, almost old. It was times like these Helen was very glad she had the power of air. It was a blistering cold day, with one of the sharpest winds anyone can remember, but an air umbrella protected both her and Irma. And then we saw the wings of Saturn. Isn't his grandpa's observatory the coolest? Helen said, ending a detailed retelling of last night's date with Eric. Yeah, it sounds great, said Irma without any emotion. Are you all right, Irma? Irma snapped to attention at the sound of concern in her friend's voice. Huh? Of course! You know me. I'm always fine. Helen did know Irma, and she could tell everything was not fine. But before she could find out what was wrong, her cell phone rang. Hello? Yeah. Oh, hi, Will. Yeah, I'm with Irma. Uh-huh. Yeah, we'll meet you there. She hung up the phone and looked at Irma. You have to go to Cornelia's house, Helen said. Sounds like we're wanted in a canter car. What are the chances that they're throwing a party in our honor? Irma said with a smile. Slim to none, Helen replied. Irma sighed. Well, let's go anyways. 20 minutes later, all 5 girls were in Cornelia's room, preparing to depart. It was not the biggest meeting that they held in that room. Did he say what was wrong? No, he didn't even say anything was wrong. It's just a feeling I got. Something's always wrong with that man. Irma sighed. Well, he did just spend the last 2 months in a magic bubble, Cornelia replied. Oh my gosh, hey, Corny, we could make a baseball team with the people who have been trapped inside bubbles. You've done it twice! Will just ignored him. Come on, you guys. Let's see what it is this time. With that, Will opened a fold, and the girls once again entered the center of infinity. Chapter 3. Insights and Revelations. Heatherfield. The man tapped his fingers on the desk. 2 more alerts had come in. One of them was common. Most likely, however, they traveled between worlds. But one was very big. Very big. Not as big as the one last week, but still big. And both of them were in the apartment building where the Hale girl lived. Action must be taken. He dialed a number on his phone. It's me, he said. The Hale residence. Get to it immediately. Stay there until I tell you otherwise. Those are my orders. See to it that you do. He frowned. The nerve of that man, he thought, questioning my orders. Oh, well, he will not be needed for much longer. The girls continue to turn. Cantercar. Trine never got quite used to seeing the sheer scale of Cantercar. Even if its lesser state, as it was now, inspired awe simply by being. She found herself now in a room she had never seen before, but she recognized it from young Lin's description. It was the council room. Tarani noticed the stage that they were standing on was surrounded by rows and rows of Cantercar elders, each wearing an identical white robe. It reminded her of the Roman Colosseum. Tarani didn't recognize most of the council members, but there was one in the front row that she definitely knew. Yang Lin smiled at the girls, then embraced her granddaughter. This wasn't the real Yang Lin, of course, merely an Altamir. She was staying in Cantercar until they could figure out what to do with her. Girls, why are you not in coordinated form? The Oracle's strong voice brought Tarani back to reality. Sorry, Oracle, Will replied. Cornelia's sister was in the next room, and we didn't want to make too much noise. It would be best if you transformed now, the Oracle said with unblinking eyes. Of course, Oracle, Will said. We're fine, by the way. Thanks for asking, Irma interrupted. Irma! Cornelia hissed, covering her friend's mouth. Trelawney kept a straight face, but they secretly agreed with Irma. It felt as if the girls were being just as used as tools, instead of real people. Will sighed. Guardians unite! Any cool transformation music? Water! Fire! Earth! Air! Quintessence! Now, the Oracle said, after the process had finished, let's get down to business. Meridian. Fast Tech trudged through the hallways towards his room. He had just helped save the universe, and what does he get for his service? A 12-hour patrol shift right off the bat. Well, that was it, he thought to himself. Enough was enough. Nothing was going to stop him from going to bed and sleeping for as long as he wanted. Well, nothing except for the note nailed to his door. The one with his name on it, written in Kalo's handwriting. He took a deep breath and opened up the letter. Fatek, meeting in council room in 1 hour. Attendance mandatory. Sorry. Caleb. Fatek sighed. One of these days, he thought. You are all familiar with Sambala. The Oracle stood in front of the girls, his arms behind his back. There were times when Tarani was very glad that Will was the unofficial leader of the team. Tarani had no interest in answering any of the Oracle's questions. She just wanted to know what the problem was, then go solve it. You mean the Purple Tree Planet? Will said without thinking. I mean, yes, we know it. What the Oracle did next was the last thing Tarani would ever expected. He laughed. She wasn't the only one who was surprised. Murmurs and mutterings instantly rippled through the council. The Oracle quickly silenced them with a single look. Yes, he said when silence was restored. That's the one. What happened? Will asked, quickly regaining her composure. There is some civil unrest, said the Oracle. Suddenly, a voice came from behind the girls, interrupted. That is what it is, Oracle. A civil war. The girls turned to identify the speaker and received the third shock of the day. Cadma? Meridian. Arya was very excited, and she had good reason to be. After all, this was her first mission. She had been too young to help with the rebellion or defeating Nerissa, but now she was finally able to do something. She was part of the team that explored the Infinite City. Her father, who had been in rebellion for 10 years, was the military leader of the group. Arya fiddled with the hilt of her sword. Her father told her that she wouldn't use it. An strictly exploratory mission, he called it. Still, Arya hoped they would find some Lurdans or something to beat up. Lieutenant Height, we found something! One of the elders was calling for Arya's father. Coming! Called back Height. What is it? Arya felt her excitement growing again. They had been down here for 3 days. Barely found anything. It's just a word, the elder said, studying the ancient runes. What does it say? I'm not sure. We have a translator looking at it. There were very few people left in Meridian who could read ancient Meridian, and they had one on the team. I know what it says, said the translator with a grave look in his eye, but you're not going to like it. What does it say? Asked Hyatt, grabbing his sword without realizing it. Prison. Prison? Arya frowned and turned back to the darkness of the city. If this was a prison, she thought, then who are the prisoners? Then, a pair of yellow eyes shone through the darkness. Then another. Then another. Then another. And all of a sudden, Arya wasn't so excited anymore. Chapter 4! Honey, I'm home. Caleb! Captain Julian was deep in thought when some of the upcoming projects when he saw a brown blur streak through the hallways in front of him. He instantly recognized it as his son and called out for him. Oh, hi, Dad! Caleb called, out of breath. Just the man I wanted to see. I need to talk to you too, son. Caleb was still panting, so Julian continued. I know you've had some rough times recently with your mother. I just wanted to let you know I'm sorry for all the things I've done wrong over the years, and all the mistakes I've made. I hope you know how sorry I am, and that I'll always be here for you. I'm very proud of you, my son. Thank you, Dad. The two of them hugged. Now, Julian said, releasing his grip, what did you have to say that was so important? Caleb smiled and scratched the back of his neck nervously. I just wanted you to know we're having a meeting soon in the council room. I'd like you to come. Julian smiled. It was clear that this meant a lot to his son. I'll be there, he said. Caleb smiled and muttered something about one more person. They took off down the hallway once again. Canter car. Kama walked quietly, and with great purpose to the central stage and faced the Guardians. As I'm sure you're unaware, she said, that I stepped down from my role as Zambala's queen due to recent events. Yeah, thought Tarani. Recent events involving you losing their heart and giving it to Narissa. Tarani had never had a great working relationship with Kadma. She disagreed with the way Kadma handled Narissa's situation on Zambala. For now, though, she put her personal feelings aside. There was work to be done. Yes, we know that, Kadma. But what exactly did you mean when you said there was a civil war? Will asked, a little impatient herself. The Zambalans are not a very independent race, said the Oracle, choosing his words carefully. They were ill-equipped to deal with Kadma's departure. The resulting power vacuum has resulted in conflict. Several Zambalans have claimed rights to the thrones, and even more dispute them. It's anarchy, Will, Kadma added. Tarani decided it was her turn to talk. With all due respect, Oracle, what do you expect us to do about it? We can't just walk in and crown a new king. Of course not, Tarani, Kadma said. We know that the Zambalans must settle this for themselves. All we are asking for you is to go in and defuse this violence before anyone gets hurt. Then of course we'll help, Will said. The rest of the Guardians nodded in agreement. Those trees are going to be peaceful whether they like it or not! And with that, Will sliced the air with the heart of Kandakar and set off into Zambala. MEridian. Arya sat on the floor of the Infinite City, holding her arm. Her first battle had not gone exactly as she expected. It all happened so fast, and she felt like she didn't do much of anything. She checked underneath the bandages to see if her arm was still bleeding. Her father said it wasn't a serious wound, and she'd be fine. Besides, it wasn't as bad as some of the injuries the others had suffered. None of the warriors were knocked out, but didn't have a scratch on him. Nobody was sure what they had just fought. The creatures seemed designed to fight. Large claws and teeth. Excellent night vision. Whoever imprisoned them there must have had good reason. But they seemed sluggish, even old. They were no match for the MEridian soldiers. The creatures were not the biggest surprise, though. After the battle, a couple of elders found a man, who looked about 30 years old. He said he had been in part of the rebellion when the creatures attacked him and brought him here. He didn't know how long he had been back here, but it seemed like a very long time. Arya thought that was amazing. How brave he must be to survive down here. One thing was clear. They had to bring him and their wounded back to the castle. The man smiled when they said that. He seemed very eager to get back to the city. You know, this is my first time reading this fic, people, and right now I could say I do not trust this guy. Zambala. The girls exited the fold and stepped into the soothing forests of Zambala. This doesn't seem so bad, Cornelia said, admiring the purple grass. Suddenly, a gigantic rock landed at their feet, missing her by inches. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. Quickly, girls, we must stop this, Kadma said, motioning into the direction the rock came from. Kadma no longer had her queenly powers, so Cornelia had to carry her on a rock platform. They hadn't flown long when they saw a spectacular sight. Two Zambalans were fighting as only they could, by hurling boulders at one another. Wow! There's something you don't see every day, was all Halen managed to say. Zambalans! Kadma shouted, while standing in between the two giants. I implore you! Stop this senseless bickering! At the sight of their former queen, the two trees stopped fighting. Kadma, Deepo said softly. A murmur of Kadma then spread throughout the trees all around the girls. Instantly, Zambalans started appearing from all directions. I guess you could say that Zambalans were appearing out of the woodwork. Until Kadma and the girls were surrounded. Zambalans! This time it was Will addressing them. We're not here to fight you. We just want to... But before she could finish, the Zambalans acted. One by one, they all started bowing to their former queen, while whispering her name. Irma regained her composure first. Well, this is different. MEridian. Caleb was nervous, and he hated himself for it. There was no reason to be nervous, he told himself. These were his friends and family. They respected him. Why was he nervous? Maybe he thought because he couldn't shake the feeling that this important, something that needed to happen, he wasn't so sure he could pull it off. Well, here goes nothing, he thought. He took a deep breath, pushed open the doors, and entered the council room. Chapter 5. A Call to Arms. Zambala. Will never really considered herself a fighter. In fact, she hated all aspects of war. However, she had picked some tricks of the trade during her time as guardian. One of the first things she learned from Caleb was how to analyze her surroundings. She did that now. It didn't like what she saw. Zambalas had no need for furniture, so the field of meeting was just that, a field. The meeting itself consisted of 2 rings of trees. The large outermost ring consisted of about 20 Zambalans. These were the spectators. Will recognized both Browbeater and Ironwound among them. The innermost circle contained 5 Zambalans, including Bitterroot. Will guessed that these were the trees that wanted Kanma's throne after she left. The Guardians and Kanma were also part of this circle. Kanma stood on the spot normally reserved for the queen. Attention! Kanma said in a strong voice. This meeting at the Zambalan High Council will now begin! The meeting had been called less than an hour since the girls had arrived on Zambala, which didn't give them much time to game plan. Will had talked it briefly with Kanma, and they both agreed that Kanma should not resume her role as queen. However, Will didn't think that Kanma would be able to resist her old role once it was offered, as it was now. Seeing Kanma quickly take charge of the meeting wasn't helping. Kanma continued to talk. Let us now decide who will lead Zambala into the future! MEridian. Thank you all for coming. Caleb sat at the end of the large rectangular table. His father and Fatek sat on the left, while Drake, Tynar sat on the right. There was one empty chair opposite from Caleb.
So, why exactly over here, Caleb?
Fatek asked. Caleb took a deep breath. You're here because MEridian has just survived the worst 20 years in history. Phobos, Nerissa, and Cedric just attacked MEridian and its queen with everything they had, and we just barely survived. As it stands now, if someone else were to attack, they would win. So we need to add something to our side.
What about the Guardians?
Asked Tynar. Caleb shook his head. The Guardians just don't protect MEridian. They protect the entire universe. We can't count on them to solve everything at all times.
Besides, Jillian added, we need a MEridian solution. One that can control and we can rely on. So what are you suggesting?
A team, Caleb replied. The best MEridian has to offer. The greatest warriors of our time. A team that can find and eliminate threats before they get out of hand. MEridian will not be at peace forever, so we need people that will either stop the next war before it starts, or finish it once it does. That's where we come in. I think that the people at this table are MEridian's finest and should be able to be its first line of defense. I think we need to be this team. Nobody said anything for a moment. Then Drake broke the silence.
That sounds great, Caleb. But just the 5 of us?
Sometimes small is better, Jillian added.
Besides,
he said with a smile, 5 seems to work. Actually, Caleb said, there's 6. As if on cue, the doors to the council room opened once again. Okay, I'm getting a betting table here. Who's got money on a certain little creature? Who's got money on Blanc? Anybody? Trixie, Rainbow Dash, and Applejack all have money on Blanc, and Raindrops, Lyra, and Charlie all have money on somebody unexpected. Right, let's see where this goes. Zambala. Not surprisingly, Irma was the first to talk. What's going on here? We know there's been some conflict, Tarani said, clarifying Irma's question. But why? Surely Zambalans are civilized enough to choose a leader peacefully. With that, The inner circle of Zambalans interrupted. Each tree shouted at once, trying to prove that it wasn't them that started the conflict, and that someone else to be blamed. I guess politics are the same on every planet. Cornelia muttered, Quiet! This time it was Will yelling, One at a time! Surprised by the young girl's voice, the Zambalans went silent. Now, Will said, Bitterroot, tell me what happened.
Why should he be the one to speak?
Asked one of the other trees. Because I know him, Will said, and I know he'll tell the truth.
Thank you, Guardian, Bitterroot said. After Queen Kadma's departure, many Zambalans, including myself, nominated themselves for ruler. We were all scared, panicking from the devastation caused by Darissa. Things got out of hand. We are all ashamed of our actions.
No one argued with this, so Will spoke again. I understand, but you have to understand that Kadma is not the answer to your problems. A human man should not lead Zambala. Isn't that right, Kadma? Kadma hesitated for a moment. Yes, that is correct, Will, Kadma said at long last. Zambalans, your only hope for the future lies in... Good job, Will! Halen was communicating telepathically with Will while Kadma talked. Thanks, Halen, Will thought back. I hope I sounded more confident than I felt. You did great, Will, Cornelia said. But what are we going to do? Yeah, this isn't just some problem we can bonk on the head and make it go away. I don't know, girls. I'm just worried that Kama's going to become queen again. We can't let that happen, Will said. But what can we do about it? We can't choose Zambala's leader for him, Tarani said. But we have to do something, Halen said. None of them said anything for a while. Look at the bright side, Irma said. At least they're not fighting anymore. With that, the other circle of the Zambalans started screaming and running as a 10-foot monster appeared from the forest. The girls just glared at Irma. Anything else you want to add, Irma? Nope, I'm good. MEridian. The council doors opened, and Raithor walked in. He surveyed the room with an unblinking glare.
Hope I'm not too late,
he said as he walked to the far end of the table and sat opposite of Caleb. Thathic was the first to break the silence. I was wrong. It was not book. Darn you, author. You cost me 20 bits. Darn you.
This is an outrage,
He yelled. As he did so, he stood and pounded the table so hard it cracked.
Surely you don't think that this scum is one of Meridian's finest!
Drake and Julian nodded in agreement. I refuse to go on any team that has him as a member. Caleb, I have to agree with the others. Julian said, I don't think Raithor is a good choice. We still don't know if we can trust him. Raithor said nothing during this time. Caleb tried to remain calm. He knew this was coming. I think Raithor is a key part of this plan, he said once everyone was quiet. If he hadn't turned against Phobos when he did, we never would have won. He showed a lot of courage doing what he did. Plus, he gave me his word that he would do this. And that's good enough for me. Nobody said anything for a while. They all agreed with Caleb's idea for an elite team. But none of them really trusted Raithor enough to fight by his side. They still remember all the things Raithor had done to MEridian as Phobos' guard and a Knight of Vengeance. Just because he switched sides in the end didn't make him a good man. In the end, it was Tynar who broke the deadlock. I know how hard it is to go against Phobos, he said. If you're all able to forgive me, then at least we can do is give Raithor another chance. Besides, this is what's best for MEridian and Elion. That's all that matters. I don't like it, but it is necessary. I'm in, for now. Caleb turned to his father. I trust you, Caleb. If you think that this is for the best, I'll support you. Amen. Only Thathic was left. Everyone turned to him, and he thought for a moment, then sighed and sat back down.
Amen,
he said, then muttered under his breath, Just better work. Thank you, Caleb said, breathing a sigh of relief. I know we can make this work. Suddenly, the door burst open, and one of the royal messengers came in. "There you are!" he said. Queen Elion needs all of you to come to the courtyard right away. The Infinite City team has arrived, and they have wounded. Caleb turned to his new team. They were standing up. "No time like the present," he said with a smile. "Gentlemen, welcome to the Honor Guard." Chapter 6. Welcome to the jungle. We've got fun and games. Heatherfield. Raphael Cilia was getting a cramp in his leg. He shook it back and forth, but it was no use. Where on earth were those girls? When he took this assignment, he thought it was going to be a breeze. He was getting paid more than twice his usual rate, and his subjects were all teenage girls. Not exactly the toughest targets ever. His employer was strange, no doubt about that. Extremely dedicated, though. He had to admit that. His boss had paid Cilia extra to become a teacher at the school the girls attended. Talk about overkill. But his money was counted, and that's all that mattered. Still, he had been sitting in his car for 3 hours, and there was no sign of them. What could they be doing in there? Whatever it was, he was pretty sure they were having more fun than he was. Irma nearly dug the giant fist. "You know, all things considered, this has been a really weird day." "What part?" Cornelia responded, while evacuating some of the younger trees. "The Sabalan Civil War, the tree fight, the tree meeting, or that giant monster attacking for no reason?" "All of the above!" Irma yelled back, and she and the rest of the girls were in panic mode. They didn't know what this thing was or what it wanted, but they knew it wasn't good. Tarani flew in close and hit the monster with a column of fire. It had no effect. "Tarani, stop! It will only make things worse," Kama said. She was standing behind Bitterroot, the only Sabalan who hadn't fled right away. Tarani and Will flew beside them. "Irma! Helen! Cornelia! Try to slow that thing down!" Will called, then turned back to Kanma. "But don't attack it directly," Kanma added. Helen turned right to face the giant standing over her. "Right," Helen said. "Slow it down without attacking, because otherwise it'd be too easy." "Do you know what this thing is, Kanma?" Tarani asked. "Yes. It is called a Meris. It was a weapon of King Ari II during the Great War of Arcana over 40 years ago. I thought it was locked up in the Tower of Mist." "Tower of Mist? Cedric's prison."
Then how did you get here? Bitterroot asked.
"I do not know." "How come you don't want us attacking it?" "It feeds on masculine energy," Kanma said. "Look at how big it is now. It is at least twice the size it used to be." Kanma was right. The Emerus was now at least 20 feet tall. "So how are we supposed to defeat it if we can't use magic?" Will asked. "You can't," she said. "You need someone without magic powers to fight it and win." "Where are we going to find someone who can fight that without powers?" Will asked. But no one was listening. They were too busy watching Bitterroot and Aramis fighting to the death. MEridian. Caleb sat at his second table of the day. This time, though, there were only 4 chairs. Elion, who was overlooking the missing report from Infinite City, filled one of them. The other 2 were empty. They were going to be filled by Captain Hyatt and the man they found in the Infinite City. Elion had requested to speak with both of them, but they had to pass a medical check first. So for now, it was Caleb and Elion. "So, when were you going to tell me about this team?" Will said, looking at the report. Caleb looked at her. "How did you know about the team?" Caleb asked. "I hadn't said anything about it." Elion smiled a little. "I'm the queen, Caleb. It's my job to know." She raised an eyebrow when she heard this. "Alright, so Vatek has a big mouth," Elion admitted. "Don't worry, I think it's a good idea. How come you didn't tell me right away?" "'Cause I didn't think it would work," Caleb said. "Well, at least you have confidence," Elion said with a smile. "By the way, how are you going to lead this team and be head of Meridian military?" "I'm not," Caleb replied. After hearing this, Elion looked up from the report for the first time. "Then who is?" "Eldarn." "Eldarn? Caleb, Eldarn's great, but—" "Eldarn is every bit as capable of leading the military as I am," Caleb said. Elion just looked down for a bit. "You really want this, don't you?" "Yes," Elion chuckled. This is just because Cornelia has a team, isn't it? She asked. C has a team, Nerissa has 3 teams, even Matt has a team. The cat's more useful than I am. Elion started laughing as Hyatt and the man from the city walked in the door. Oh, don't be that way, Caleb. I love you, man. Zambala. Bitterroot and the Emerus hit the ground hard. Emerus was a bit more agile than Bitterroot and got to his feet first. Bitterroot was stronger, but not by much. He managed to deflect the Emerus attack and lost one of his own. Emerus rolled with a punch and looked again at Bitterroot. There must be something we could do, Cornelia said faintly. No, this is Bitterroot's fight. The best we could do is make sure that the other Zambadans are safe, Kama said. They're safe all right, Irma said. They all booked it as soon as this thing showed up. Come on, Whale said. They're heading into the forest. The least we can do is cheer them on. Emerus threw Bitterroot into the forest, but Bitterroot kept his balance. Emerus charged again, but Bitterroot sidestepped it and hurled Emerus to the ground. He wasn't fast enough to dodge Emerus's backhand, though. Bitterroot fell to the ground, and Emerus tried to keep him there. The two of them rolled along the forest floor, exchanging blows. Bitterroot was stronger, but Emerus had decades of fighting experience. Quickly got the upper hand. Bitterroot blocked as many as he could, but it was clear he was outmatched. He managed to separate himself from the monster and catch his breath. He was severely injured, though, and appeared to have given everything he had. Emerus tensed, ready to finish it.
You are strong, but you forgot one thing.
Emerus either didn't hear or didn't care. He lunged for Bitterroot. Bitterroot swayed for the last second, then dove out of the way. The Emerus soared through the rows of the shrubs behind Bitterroot and right over the cliff that they disguised.
This is my world,
he said as he watched the Emerus fall for what seemed like forever, before it hit the ground in a puff of dirt. Wow! That is one kick-butt tree! Irma said. Bitterroot walked back to the meeting field. When the other Sabalans saw him, they all fell to their knees and started chanting his name.
King Bitterroot! King Bitterroot!
Looks like everything worked out perfectly, Halen said over the Saban's cheers. There is some details to work out, but yes, this would seem to be a perfect solution, Kama said. Will thought that Kanma had actually meant that, which gave her something else to smile about. Yep, Will said. It's almost as if someone planned it. The Oracle stirred the waters for a second time, and the image of Bitterroot disappeared. He smiled. At least it worked, he thought. Sabala has their king. His smile was faded quickly as he started to walk back into the council room. It was now time to face the consequence of his actions. Kandrakar. Kadma and the Guardians exited the fold and entered Kandrakar. They were weary, both mentally and physically, but they returned victorious. Chapter 7. Best Laid Plans. One look at the council room, though, put Will on guard. Only about a quarter of the seats remained filled. The Oracle looked older and more tired than Will had ever seen him before. In the front row, the young Lynn Altamir sat and gave her granddaughter only a weak smile. Will looked at the other 4 girls. They all had a concerned look on their face, just like Will. They knew something was off. Indeed, the only person who didn't notice was Kadma. Oracle, Kadma said while walking towards Kandrakar's lair. Our mission was a complete success. Zabala has a new king. I know, was all the Oracle could say. Will looked down. She had a question on her mind, but she didn't ask it. All she wanted to do was go home, give her mother a hug, eat supper, call Matt, and be happy for Zambala. But she couldn't. Not while there was one thing that didn't make sense. How did the Emerus escape? She asked. Kandrakar seems like it would be a tough place to get out of. How did the Emerus leave the Tower of the Mist? And more importantly, how did it get to Zabala? The Oracle looked right at Will. Will saw determination in his eyes, with a touch of sadness and regret. I will not lie to you, Guardian, he said with what seemed to Will like an eternity. I owe you that much. The Emerus was on Zambala because I sent it there. We defeated them eventually, but many of our men were wounded, Captain Hyatt said. He just finished recapping the events that took place in the Infinite City to Caleb and Elion. And that's when you found... What did you say your name was?
Tehelsa, the man answered, but my friends just call me D.
Very well, D it is, Elian said, smiling. How is it that nobody noticed you were gone? Caleb asked.
D lowered his head. I was only a child. Both my parents died at the hands of that monster Phobos, D said, clenching his fists. I never really knew about anyone else. I'm not surprised nobody missed me.
You poor thing, Elian said, reaching over and holding Dee's hand. He smiled at her. I think that's all for now, isn't it, Caleb?
Just
2 more questions, my queen. Captain Hyatt, in your report you described D as about 30 years old, but now he doesn't look a day over 20. How come the difference?
I'm not sure. Hyatt shrugged. I guess the bad lighting in the city played tricks on my eyes.
And your other question?
How's your daughter, Arya? Sounds like quite a mission.
She's fine, Hyatt said with a smile. She's going to be quite a fire.
I'm sure she will,
Caleb replied. Hyatt and Dee left, leaving Caleb and Elian alone again. Well, what do you think? Elian asked Caleb.
I'm not sure. It's an incredible story. Almost too incredible.
You're just being paranoid, Elian said.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Caleb said. You seem to like him.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, really a lot.
Caleb! Caleb laughed. It was the simple things.
Kama took a step backwards.
You what?
Believe me, if I felt I had any other choice, the Oracle said.
You planned this whole thing, Tarani said. I knew it was too perfect. You set up a menace, one that you knew we couldn't defeat, Irma added. The rest of the girls were catching on. Then one of the Symbolics would have to set up a fight, and when someone did, they would become king, Helen said. You planned the whole thing. You knew we were risking our lives and the lives of Symbolics, and you did it anyway! How could you? Will said.
Do not begin to question my decisions, girls. I thank you for your efforts, but your work is over. I will return you home,
the Oracle said, beginning to wave his hand. Oh no, we're not going anywhere, Will said defiantly. Before they knew it, a familiar blue light enveloped the girls. The next thing Will knew, she found herself no longer in Kandakar, but in Cornelia's bedroom, Heatherfield. Of all the ungrateful! Irma kicked a stuffed bear across the room, missing Napoleon's head by inches.
Hey, watch it!
We can't sit back and let the Oracle guy get away with this. We have to go back. Yeah, I don't think Mr. Cuddles can take any more hits like that, Cornelia added, retrieving the bear. Oh, don't worry, Will said. He's not getting away that easily. She held up the heart and sliced the air, creating a familiar cut. Will walked through the portal and came right out the other side, still in Cornelia's bedroom. Well, that didn't work, Helen said. This can't be a coincidence, Trine said. The Oracle must be blocking our return somehow. I don't believe this, Will yelled, after all we've done for him. Settle down, Will, Cornelia said, nervously eyeing her other stuffed toys. My parents are certainly home by now. Will sighed. She held up the heart again. This time, the fold disappeared, and the girls returned to their human form. Cornelia's right, Helen said with a yawn. I think we've done all we can tonight. Let's just get some rest. I'm calling my mom to pick up. Do you want to ride home, Irma? Sure. Thanks, Helen, Irma said as she headed for the door. By the way, she added, turning to Cornelia, Mr. Cuddles, shut up, Irma. The 4 girls headed down the front steps of the building. Will and Tarani both waved goodbye and headed off for home, leaving Helen and Irma waiting. I still think we should have tried to do more, Irma said. What more were we going to do? Helen responded. If the Oracle wants you out of Kandakar, then you're out of Kandakar. It just makes me so angry, Irma said. We stop a war, and what does he do? He bans us back to Earth. What a jerk! Look at it this way, Helen said. When we woke up, Shambhala had a civil war going on and no ruler. Now they're at peace, and they have a great king. We've had worse days. Before Irma could respond, a car pulled up with Mrs. Lynn inside, and the girls got inside. Raphael Sala sat dumbfounded in his car. The listening device he had placed in the bushes worked perfectly. But that certainly was not the conversation most teenage girls had. Sambala? Oracle? Kandahar? Why were they talking about Afghanistan? Oh well, he thought, he wasn't getting paid to figure that out. All he had to do was listen and report. That's just what he was going to do. He dialed the number on his cell. Hello? Yeah, it's me. They just got back. Yeah, the device worked. I heard everything they said. They mentioned all sorts of weird things. They were mad at some guy called the Oracle. Something about a civil war going on in Sambala. They also mentioned Kandahar. What? Kandahar? No, I think they said Kandahar. How do you know? Whatever. I heard what I heard. No, they all just went home. That's right. Sure, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. The man tapped his fingers on the desk. Kandahar. If only Sita knew how foolish he sounded. He hadn't heard anything called Sambala before. Could it be a new world? And why were they mad at the Oracle? Could this be used against them? He glanced over at his alarm board. It had gone off loudly about 5 minutes ago, and had beat steadily ever since, as if there was a small magical haze over the city. None of this made any sense. Perhaps he could start making moves of his own. For now, though, he just tapping his fingers, contemplating the future. And then the gears started to turn. Chapter 8. Eye of the Beholder. MEridian. Caleb was reviewing some MEridian history when Drake burst into his room. Get your head out of the books, Caleb. We got a report on an attack on a nearby village. Caleb stood up. Gather the rest of the guard, he said. Let's go check it out. Drake ran off to get the others. Caleb walked over, his sword slung over his shoulder. He took a deep breath. Showtime. Irma wanted to smash it to bits. She lined up her target, raised her hand, and began to bring her fist down for a devastating blow. She stopped herself at the last second, and simply pressed the button instead of smashing her alarm clock to a million pieces. She groggily got herself out of bed, got dressed, and stumbled downstairs for breakfast. She mumbled hello to her family, and shoveled some cereal into her mouth. She walked out the door and headed to school. It wasn't until she got there that she checked her schedule. Her first period was an hour of computer class with Mr. Celia. Maybe this wasn't going to be a bad day after all, she thought. 10 minutes later, Irma sat in front of her computer screen, with her hand in the air. Sitting next to her was Helen, and next to her was Tarani. Helen was glancing over at Irma, while Tarani was just staring at her screen. Hey, did you know anything weird going on over there? Irma asked Tarani. Over where? Where Irma is, Helen replied. Yeah, Tarani said, still not looking at the screen. Irma's very weird. Tarani, focus! Tarani jumped and looked at Helen. I'm sorry, Helen. I was just thinking of something. What's Irma doing this time? She's talking to Mr. Celia. A lot. So? That's not weird. You know she has a crush on him. Yeah, said Helen. But he's enjoying it. Tarani looked over at Irma. Sure enough, Celia was asking just as many questions as Irma. He was even laughing at some of her jokes. You're right, Tarani said. That is weird. What are you thinking about? Helen asked her friend. Oh, nothing. Tarani turned to her screen. Oh, great, Helen thought to herself. Now everyone's acting weird. MEridian. All 6 members of the honor guard rode on horseback toward the village of Avalon. It was a small village, and even with horses was an hour ride from the castle. This gave Drake an opportunity to update the other members, as he was the only one that received direct word from Elion. The report came in about half an hour ago, so we have to assume that the attack started around 2 hours ago, Drake said. 2 hours, Vatek said. They could all be dead by now. It's just an outskirt village, Julian replied. We haven't had time to get an outpost here. They're lucky we know about this at all. So, what do we know about the attack itself? Rathor asked. Drake glared at him and then looked at Caleb. Caleb just nodded. Not too much, Drake said in a voice that sent chills up Rathor's spine. Just a fake description of some animal creatures. It didn't sound like anything I've heard before. So, let me get this straight. We're going to a place we know nothing about, fighting an enemy we know nothing about, and we're an hour away from home and any reinforcements. Yeah, pretty much, Caleb said with a smile. Great.
Just checking.
Halen waved as Will and Cornelia approached the lunch table. Irma and Tarani slid to make room. So, how was computer class? Irma said with her head in hands. Was it as dreamy as ours? Cornelia looked at Halen and sat down. Still, she said. Halen just nodded. Irma pouted her lips. You're just jealous because he appreciates me for who I am, she said. To be perfectly honest, Irma, I find him a little creepy, Will said. He spent almost the entire class working with Cornelia and me. I don't even think he talked to anyone else. I'm with Will on this one, Cornelia added. He's weird, even by our standards. I am shocked and offended by these accusations, Irma said. Raphael is a wonderful educator and a gift to the school. The only reason he gave you help, Cornelia, is because you so desperately need it. Are you all right, Tarani? You've been quiet all day, Halen asked, desperate to change the subject. Tarani had been stirring her lunch with a fork for the last 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm all right, she said, looking up. Just thinking. About what happened yesterday? No, not about that. Just something personal. The girls looked at each other. Whatever it is, Tarani, you can always tell us. We'll help if we can, Will said. Thanks, Will, but really, don't worry about it. Tarani said as he continued to stir her lunch. MEridian. Caleb dismounted his horse and looked at the village. Couldn't be more than 100 buildings, he thought. Signs of a battle were everywhere, and sounds of a fight could be heard in the distance.
Well, Fatek said, sounds like some of them are still alive.
Attacking is for no reason. These things remind me of you, Raithor, Drake said.
Nobody's ever heard of them.
These things remind me of you, Drake, Raithor replied. Drake pulled out his daggers and turned on Raithor. Raithor pulled out his own sword. Caleb separated them before things got out of hand. Stop it! You're both out of line. We've got a job to do. Let's focus and do it! Both sheathed their blades. Now, Thethek, Raithor, Chinar, assist the villagers with the fight. Drake, you, me, and Julia will talk with whoever's in charge and figure it out. Before Hale could finish his sentence, an arrow slammed in the trunk of the tree. Just inches for Caleb's nose. Everyone looked up to see a man crouched in the branch of another tree. He was holding a bow with an arrow in it. That was a warning, the man said. The next one goes between your eyes unless you call off your creatures, leave, and never come back. Caleb looked around at his teammates. All of them took a step back. Don't look at us, Trinar said. This team, your idea. Caleb sighed. It was going to be a very long day. Chapter 9. Communication Breakdown. Caleb raised his hands. We mean you no harm, he called up to the man in the tree. We have nothing to do with whatever is attacking you. My name is Caleb, and this is the Honor Guard MEridian. We are here on behalf of Queen Elion. We heard your village was in trouble, and we've come here to help. The man leapt from the branch and put his arrow back in his quiver. Caleb was able to get a better look at him now he was in the light. He was much younger than Caleb had first thought. No more than a couple of years older than he was. His face was weathered, though, and much more than it should be for someone his age. He scowled at the guard, something that Caleb thought he probably did a lot. This looked like a man who had experienced a lot. What's your name? Wally. You're from the castle? Yep, Caleb said. He had hoped that when Wally heard this, he would realize his mistake and allow the guard to help. He didn't. Leave immediately. You're not needed here. There must be something we could do, Caleb said. There's still fighting going on, is there not? We're trained warriors. I'm sure we have more experience with these type of situations than anyone in your village. Wally stopped and turned back to Caleb. Do you think you're the only one who suffered? Do you think that just because you have a team and live in a castle, you've overcome more? Do you think that Phobos and Nerissa spent their time fighting you? We may not be famous, but we've had to deal with just as much pain as you have. Except we didn't have guardians or magic to help us fight our battles. We've had to fight for ourselves. No armies or magical warriors ever came to our side when we were attacked. They were too worried about the precious city and its queen. So don't you dare tell us about your training and your experience. I won't stop you from entering the city, but I advise you to go home and forget about us. We survived in the past without your help. If we can survive too, it's what we do. With that, Wally turned and ran off the direction of the bow, notching an arrow as he did so. The guard just stood there, dumbfounded. Caleb had always thought he fought for all of Meridian. He never knew that there were people who felt like this. Was Wally right? Were they too focused on the city that they couldn't see all the other people who needed their help? How many others were like Wally that Caleb didn't know about? He didn't know what to do. Fortunately, Rathor did. "There are people who still need our help," Rathor said as he walked past Caleb. "I'm going to help them." Then he took off after Wally, sword in hand. Caleb turned around and looked at his teammates. They all had their weapons drawn and ready to fight. Caleb just nodded, and the five of them sprinted toward the battle. Raphael Cilia was once again uncomfortable. This time, though, it wasn't a physical pain. His nervousness was mostly due to the room he was in and the man who sat in front of him. He wasn't sure exactly what it was about the room that made him feel so strange. It was almost as if he could feel an unbelievable sadness from the walls themselves. Almost as if they had gotten absorbed all the misery from the man that stood in front of him. The man himself, however, showed no signs of sadness, only an unyielding determination. Whatever it was, Cilia wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. "I've identified all the five of them. Oh, sorry. I've identified all five of the girls," Cilia said quickly. "They seem to be very close friends, closer than most kids their age. I also know details about each of their families, where each of them live, and how they act, just like you asked." "Then it is time to move on to stage 2, the man said. The man handed a picture to Cilia. It showed a pink jewel on it, the heart of Kandrakar. "Find out which one of these girls holds this talisman." "And after I find out?" Cilia asked nervously. "Nothing," the man said. "For now." Elion dismounted her horse and surveyed the battlefield. Large, dead, duck-like creatures were strewn across the area, creating another gruesome picture. Elion was glad to see that there were much fewer Meridianites on the ground. She walked over to Caleb, who was cleaning off his sword. "Well?" "We faced worse," Caleb said with a shrug. "And the Phyllisers, they didn't get in your way, did they?" Elion asked. "No," Caleb said, glancing over at Wally. "In fact, in a lot of ways, they've done better than we have." Elion was confused by this remark, but before she could ask what he meant, Caleb noticed something else. "Hey, what's Dee doing here?" "Turns out he was a doctor before he got captured," Elion answered. "Our medical team is pretty undermanned right now, so I let him come. He was quite enthusiastic about it, too. Almost begged me to come."
"My queen, come here!"
It was Dee, who shouted something from across the field. He was crouching over the body of one of the creatures. Elliot and Caleb ran to his side. "What is it, Dee?" Elion asked. "These creatures," he said. "They're the same ones that kidnapped me." "They must have followed the team for the Infinite City and found an exit," Caleb said. "How many of these things were in the Infinite City, Dee?" Elion asked. "I'm not sure," Dee replied. "They all look the same. I never saw more than 20 at a time, but there must have been hundreds. It's a big city." Caleb looked at Elion. They both knew what this meant. If they escaped there, they could escape anywhere. Meanwhile, Wally approached the three of them.
"Caleb,"
he said as he neared them. "Who are you?" Elion asked.
"I'm Wally. Who are you?"
"Queen Elion, ruler Meridian, and rightful heir to the—"
"Got it,"
Wally said, cutting Elion off.
"Caleb, I need a word with you."
Elion seemed taken aback by this lack of respect.
"Don't take it personally,"
Caleb told Elion with a grin.
"What do you want to talk about, Wally?"
Wally led them away from the others.
"Two things. First,
"I want to apologize," Wally said. "I should not have said some of those things when we first met."
"Don't worry about it," Caleb said. "There was a lot of truth in your words."
"Yes,"
Wally said. "Yes, there was."
Caleb sighed.
"And the second thing?"
"I overheard your man's theory about what these things were. I didn't understand all of it, but I did understand enough to know that more of these things might appear in the future. And I want you to tell me if they ever show up again," Wally said. "They attacked and killed some of the people in this village, and I would like another shot at them, so to speak."
"I'd love to," Caleb said. "But how?
It villages an hour away from by horse. You'll figure something out. Then he turned around and rejoined his people. Kit aside. Nigel stood underneath a familiar overpass and looked at his watch. Tarani was late. Why does he want to meet him here anyways? He thought they were going out. He was about to leave when he saw her approaching. Tarani, over here! He called. Tarani did not answer, but continued walking toward him. Tarani, are you alright? Nigel asked when she got closer. Then, to Nigel's amazement, Tarani's hands burst into flames right in front of his eyes. Even more shocking than that was the fact that Tarani did not seem surprised by that in the least. Tarani, what? Was all Nigel managed to say. Tarani continued to look right at him. Nigel, we need to talk. Chapter 10. Coming and Going. Nigel, we need to talk. Nigel didn't know exactly what he was looking at, so he did the only thing that made sense to him. He threw his jacket over his girlfriend's flaming hands. Nigel! Tarani said, putting out her hands before the jacket hit them. It's okay. It's normal. This is normal? Nigel asked. Yes. How? Tarani took a deep breath. It's complicated, but I can explain, she said. And she did. She told him about how she could control fire, and how the other 4 girls could control the other elements. She told him about Phobos and Nerissa. She told him about Elion and Meridian. She even told him about Cedric's attack on Heatherfield a couple of weeks ago. She told him everything. He didn't say anything. At least, not right away. I don't believe it, Nigel said at last. Didn't think you would, Tarani said. So, I brought proof. With that, she took the Heart of Cantor card that she borrowed from Will earlier in that day, and transformed in front of him. She also hovered lightly for added effect. But how? Nigel asked, vainly looking for wires. It's magic, Tarani said. Nigel sat down. I don't know about this, Tarani, Nigel said. I know this is a shock, Nigel, but... This isn't who I thought my girlfriend was, Nigel said. I like you because you're a nice, sweet girl, not some mystical warrior. You like me because I'm nice and sweet? Tarani asked. No, I just don't know, Nigel said. Look, this isn't coming out right. I do like you, but this is just too much. Too fast. Neither of them said anything. They both just sat there, watching the sun go down. Tarani didn't know what to say, or even what to think. Why couldn't Nigel just accept this? After all, Matt did. What made Matt any better than Nigel? On the other hand, this was a huge thing to understand, let alone accept. Was it fair for her to spring this on him so suddenly? What if you get hurt? Nigel asked. You said this Phobos guy had almost unlimited power. Did you get any training? You could have been killed! Tarani paused for a second. She had thought about this before. Kantakar never did any training. What if they got hurt? No, Tarani said. I trust my teammates. We're strong enough as a team to overcome anything. Then, what if I'm not strong enough? Nigel said quietly. Tarani reached for Nigel's hand, but Nigel stood up. I'm sorry, Tarani, he said. I just can't handle this right now. I need time to think about this. I understand, Tarani said, holding back tears. One more thing. You can't tell this to anybody. Got it? Don't worry. I'll never hurt you. Nigel gave Tarani a weak smile, then turned and ran for home. I think he just did, Tarani said to himself. She got up and put the heart back in her bag and headed in the opposite direction. Caleb, Elion, and Aldarn surveyed the small battlefield. Yesterday, the city creatures, as they were now being called, first attacked. They speculated that they might show up other places as well. Today, they were proven right. A larger group of creatures attacked a small village outside the city limits. This time, however, the Honor Guard and MEridian military were able to get there quickly enough to stop the attack before anything major happened. You didn't lie when you said these things were tough. These ones were stronger than yesterday, Caleb said with a frown. I just wish we could let Wally know sooner. That Ryer probably just got there. Actually, Elion said, I may have fixed that. As he said this, she pulled out 2 green crystal rings and handed them to Aldar and Caleb. What are these? Aldarn asked as he slipped it on his finger. They're communication devices, Elion said, Caleb looked down skeptically. The writer has one with him. If he's got there already, he'll have given it to Wally, and we'll be able to communicate to him directly.
Impressive, Aldar said. Where did you get these?
I had Julian and some of the elders whip them up with magical stuff in the mage's old lab. They're just prototypes, so I'm not so sure they work. If they do, we'll make more and give them to everybody, Elion said.
Why are they green?
Caleb asked. It goes well with your hazel eyes, Elion said with a smile.
Well, let's see if they work, Caleb said, rolling his hazel eyes. He looked at the ring, then back at Elion. How do these work?
They're telepathic, Elion said. Just think of who you want to talk to, and they'll hear you.
Wally, can you hear me? Caleb asked into the ring. Yes, Caleb, I can hear you.
Wally's voice came from out of the ring.
Hello? Hello? Wow, these are amazing. Who's that? That's Aldar, Caleb said. He's head of our military.
Wally mumbled something to himself. Am I to understand that these creatures have attacked again? Wally asked.
I'm afraid so, Caleb answered. I'll be there shortly. That won't be necessary, Aldar said. The threat is already over. Nonetheless, these creatures will most likely attack again, and I intend to be there when they do. Expect me shortly.
Caleb put the ring down. All right, Elion said with a frown. Wally's coming.
How can I dislike him so much after hearing him for only a minute? Aldar asked.
Caleb didn't really feel like defending Wally, mostly because he agreed with the others. He knew he was just trying to protect his people, just like Caleb was. But did he have to be such a jerk? And worse, would Caleb himself have been like this if it wasn't for the Guardians' help? Could he have been this serious? His thoughts were interrupted as he noticed Elion's dress for the first time.
You're awfully dressed up for someone visiting a battlefield, he asked Elion.
If you must know, Elion said, blushing, I was about to go on a date when these things attack.
Really? You? With who?
Elion looked down at the battlefield and saw Dee, helping one of the wounded villagers. He gave her a smile and wave. Elion blushed and then waved back. She turned to look at Caleb and Aldar. Both had huge grins on their faces. Oh, stop it. Irma and Halen stared at Tarani. Yesterday had been quiet, but now she was downright scary. She hadn't responded to their hellos, and instead just opened her bag, pulled out her binder, and stared at her computer screen. Irma and Halen looked at each other. They didn't know what was bothering their friend, but they would have to find out another time. Mr. Celia was coming this way. Raphael wandered to the girls, trying to act casual. He was actually searching for any sign of the jewel he was supposed to find. He muttered hello to Irma, when suddenly something purple caught his eye. There it was. Tarani had it in her bag. That was easy, he thought to himself. He did a double check to make sure it was the right one, then headed back to his desk. This was going to make his boss very happy. Chapter 11. The Big Picture. MEridian. A somewhat less enthusiastic honor guard welcomed Wally to the castle. They had spent all of their day either fighting the city creatures or cleaning up after them. None of them really felt like dealing with Wally. Still, Elion, Aldar, Caleb, and the rest of the honor guard were all smiles as Wally dismounted his horse and walked toward him. Wally of Avalon, Elion said, on behalf of all MEridian, I welcome you.
With all due respect, Your Highness, Wally said, cutting her off. Spare the formalities. I'm here on business, not pleasure.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that, Elion muttered under her breath. Wally either didn't hear it or didn't care, as he merely surveyed the battlefield.
I see you told the truth. These creatures did indeed attack again, and they have indeed been defeated, Wally said. My only regret is that I did not have a chance to fight them myself. To be honest, we could have used your strength, Julian said, trying to play peacemaker. They were much tougher than the ones we fought in your village. Although I suspect you'll get your chance for revenge soon, Fatek added. I see no reason to think that this was their last attack. This is exactly my reason for being here, Wally said. Now, who will see me to my room?
Caleb, would you?
Elion asked. Actually, Caleb said with a smile, as leader of MEridian military, I believe it's Aldar's job to personally escort all visitors to their rooms. Of course, Aldar said, shooting daggers at Caleb. Right this way, Wally. Maybe this won't be so bad after all,
Caleb said, with a smile as he watched Aldar and Wally leave. Elianda sighed and walked to the castle. I can't believe I missed a date for this. Matt decided to join the girls for lunch today, and naturally sat beside Will. The other girls, except for Tarani, said hi to him. Why have you decided to grace us with your presence today, Matt? Cornelia asked. Yeah, Helen added. Does he normally sit with Nigel? Yeah, I do, Matt said. But he's been really quiet today. He said he wanted to sit by himself. That's funny, Irma said. Tarani was really quiet today in computer class. Oh. Irma stopped herself short, realizing what was going on. Tarani looked up from her lunch to see 5 pairs of eyes standing back. I'm sorry, Irma said. I didn't realize. What happened? Will asked. It's okay. You can tell us. Tarani took a deep breath. I told him I'm a guardian. The guards were too stunned to say anything for a while, so they sat there in silence. Unsurprisingly, Irma was the first one to talk. You did what? I told him about us and who we really are, Tarani said. I told him about the magic, about Elion and Meridian, about everything. How did he take it? Helen asked. One look from Tarani told her everything she needed to know. He said he needed time. He wasn't so sure where we should go from here. Nigel's a good guy, Matt said. I'm sure he'll like you for who you are. Nobody said anything for a while. Is that why you needed the heart last night? Will said, breaking the silence. Yeah, Tarani said, pulling the heart out of her bag. It glowed slightly as Will took a hold of it. Will slipped it into her own bag. Suddenly, the girl's thoughts were interrupted as the bell rang. Ring. Well, back to work, Irma said as she got off her chair. Enjoy your time with Miss Cecilia, girls. I know I did. 10 minutes later, Will and Cornelia were sitting in front of their computer screens. I can't help but thinking about Tarani and Nigel, Will said. Me too. I didn't want to say anything in front of Tarani, but can we trust Nigel with this information? It kind of defeats the purpose of a secret identity if you tell everybody. Whatever choice do we have? Will said. You know, I've been thinking. The two of us have been lucky so far, but Tarani may lose some relationship, something that's really important to her, because of which. It's the first time any of us had to sacrifice something because of our lives. What else are we going to give up? Well, as you said, what other choice do we have? People need us to be guardians. Sometimes their lives depended on it. And besides, think of all the good times we had. I'm pretty proud to be a guardian. I guess you're right, Will said. Remember when Blocky Caleb smashed Irma's washing machine? The girl smiled at the memory. Then they remembered why they were talking about this in the first place, and the smiles faded. Tarani's stronger than you think, Cornelia said. She'll get through this fine. Besides, they haven't broken up yet. Don't you believe in the power of love? Will frowned. Since when are you such a hopeless romantic? Uh-oh, Cornelia said, wrinkling her nose. I think some of Irma's rubbed off on me. The girls laughed until they saw Celia staring at them. We better start working on this assignment. It's due at the end of class. Good point. Good point. Mac, she said, now turning to her computer, can you open that file I saved yesterday? Sure thing, Will, the computer said back. You might want to turn down the techno talk, Will, Cornelia said. I think Celia's getting suspicious. Actually, he's been watching us all semester, Will said, glancing over at their teacher. It's starting to get a little weird. Look at the expression on his face, Cornelia said. He must have eaten at the cafeteria today. Celia sat at his desk, rubbing his temple. What happened to this being an easy mission, he thought. Fine, which of the girls has a jewel? He thought he had done just that when he saw the Tarani girl with it, but now he saw the same stupid jewel in Will's bag. His boss said there was only one jewel. He jotted down some notes on what he had seen, and took a deep breath. He wasn't looking forward to tomorrow's meeting. The next day, Celia walked into the cold, dark room, feeling no more comfortable than he did the day before. He told his boss of the jewel findings and awaited the eruption. Surprisingly, none came. Both Tarani and Will, the man said. Yes, he was feeling more confident now. After all, he was a professional. There was no way he was going to let some old man behind a desk intimidate him. Interesting, the man said. There was silence for about a minute. but that minute felt like an hour to Celia. He felt any confidence he had quickly slip away. The man behind the desk said nothing. He just sat there, thinking. Boss? Celia asked timidly. Figure out a way to find out who truly holds the jewel, then report back. Isn't it just possible that there are two of these things? Celia asked. Possible, but unlikely, the man said. Do not talk to me again before you know who has it. Celia was about to ask another question when the door opened automatically behind him. He decided to hold his question for another day and exit the room. The door quickly closed behind him. The man got up once Celia was gone. He was right not to underestimate the girls, he thought to himself. These next few days would be very interesting and challenging, but already he could feel a plan entering his mind. He smiled, the first time he had done so in a long time. Things were nearing an end, he thought. All would be as it should be. Soon, the gears continued to turn. Chapter 12. Spy Games. Will closed her locker, clamped the lock on tight. As he walked down the empty hallway, she looked at her watch. There were still 20 minutes before class started. The reason for her being so early was that it allowed her to get a ride with a mom. One look out the window at the heavy snowfall told her that she had made the right choice. None of the girls were at school yet, so she had nothing to do for the moment. She decided to head to her classroom. Will quickly turned around, but saw no one behind her. Will! She turned in a complete circle, but could not find the source of the voice. Then she looked up to see what class he was standing beside, and she quickly realized where the noise was coming from. Will! It was from one of the peers in the class calling her name. Will, 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 Will. Actually, it was all the compeers from the computer class calling her name. She entered the classroom, covering her ears. Settle down, guys. What do you want? Tell her! 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 Tell who? Will said, once again covering her ears. Tell them what? I believe this time they are talking to me, a voice said. This time, Will quickly identified it as the room security camera. Tom? Will said to the camera. What do they want to tell me? I saw something yesterday. And? Tom sighed. Being a security camera comes with a lot of responsibility. I just can't go around telling anybody what I saw because they're nosy. He said. Will smiled. Boys? She said to the computers. What do you think you should do? Tell her, 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 tell her. All right, Tom said. If you'll give me some peace and quiet. Yesterday, I saw Mr. Celia deliberately check out all your friends' bags, including yours. I believe he was looking for the heart of Cantercar. Because when he saw it dry his bag, he became quite happy, and when he saw it yours as well, he became quite distressed. I knew he was creepy, Will said. But why would he want the heart? How would he even know about it? I'm not so sure. But I know how you can find out. How? He took notes after he saw the heart. The paper should be on his desk. Will quickly shuffled through the papers on Celia's desk. He quickly found one with her and Trini's name on it. She took a few photos of it with her phone and headed for the door. Thanks for the tip, Tom. Really. You too, guys. See you later, Will said as he left. Bye, Will. 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 Will quickly shut the door behind her to find Helen in the hallway, covering her ears. What's going on in there? Helen asked. Take a look at this, Will said, showing her friend the photos on her phone. Wow, Helen said. Celia's spying on us. At least he's not dating your mom like the other teacher. Let's get the girls together at lunch, Will said, ignoring Helen's comment. We need to figure out what we're going to do about this. An indescribable distance away, on a completely different world, Caleb rode the hallways much like Will had, except he did so for a different reason. He was bored. Not that he was complaining, mind you. He thought bored was good. Bored meant no one was trying to kill him. Still, he wished there was someone he could talk to. His father and Aldar were in a meeting. Tynar and Drake were out on patrol. Thathic was on guard duty. Raynor was in the training room. And Wally was Wally. And Elion... Actually, Caleb didn't know where Elion was. Maybe he should just find her. Then he rounded the corner and saw Elion. She wasn't alone. I had a wonderful time tonight, Dee. Glad you enjoyed it. It's amazing to see how far Meridian has come since I last saw it. You're an excellent job as queen. Don't thank me, Elion said, lowering her head. The Guardians and the Rebellion did most of the work. Don't sell yourself short, he said, raising her chin gently. You're special, too. Dee leaned over and kissed her cheek. Good night, he said and turned to leave. Elion stood there, thinking for a moment, then spun Dee around and kissed him on the lips. Sorry, she said. It just needed to be done. Don't apologize, Dee said with a smile. Now, it's been a great night. As Dee left, Elion sighed and turned around to head to her room. She rounded the corner and saw Caleb. Elion didn't think it was possible to have a grin that wide. Don't you have anything better to do with your time than spy on me? She said with a sigh. Not really, no, Caleb replied. Elion glared at him. Actually, it was a complete accident, Elion. I swear. It better be, Elion said. This is the first relationship I had in 2 years, and I don't need you messing it up. I'm not going to do anything, Caleb said. I'm happy for you. Elion looked down escapingly. Caleb rolled his eyes. And I promise not to mess it up, he said with a sigh. You better not. They started walking down the hall, both deep in thought about the future. That was some kiss. Caleb! Heatherfield, an indescribable distance away, on some other world. Will was deep in thought as well. All the girls were. Will had just told him about Celia. I don't believe it, Irma said with her arms crossed. Celia would never do something like that. Irma, be serious for once in your life, Cornelia said. We know nothing about Celia. What if he's a monster from Meridian? Elion said. Wilta shook her head. We've done that enough, thank you. Well, what will we do now? Tarani said. I'm not so sure we can do anything. I think he has to make the next move. Oh, that's just another way of saying you don't have a plan, Elion said. I didn't say I didn't have a plan, Will said with a smile. As it turned out, the girls didn't wait long for Celia to make his move. The next morning, Celia waved to Will down the hallway. What is it, Mr. Celia? Will said, trying to sound innocent. I'm afraid it's bad news, and it involves the assignment you did 2 days ago. I'm afraid you caught you. Caught me? Doing what? Will asked. Cheating. You and your friend Tarani both handed in remarkably similar assignments. But Tarani's in a different class, Will said with a frown. That is why I want both of you to come to my classroom after school so I can talk to you about this. Cheating is a very serious offense, Mr. Celia said. Yes, Mr. Celia. Will frowned as Celia walked down the hallway. They both knew she hadn't cheated. This was a grab for the heart. Well, he wasn't the only one who could be tricky. She smiled a little. This was going to be an interesting afternoon. And I apologize to all of you, my faithful viewers, but we're going to pause there. Now, about this fic. Do you guys remember when I started this journey so many months ago? I said for the Fandom Fridays announcement that I would, if I found a fanfic I really, really enjoyed, might continue it on to the next day, like say Saturday. Yep, this is that fic! So, tomorrow, yes, I'm doing the other 12 chapters. There's only 24 chapters, but I just had to. This was really good. It's not the best fanfic I've ever read. Oh, no. It could deal with describing certain things, like, say, the monsters that the girls were fighting, because I would have really loved to know what it looked like. It could have also... There are small punctuation errors here and there. There are some small grammar mistakes that I spotted, but they were small. I mean, really tiny. I could overlook those that got to the story. I loved what happened with Tarani and Nigel because it felt real. It also made something different and unique with Tarani's experience as opposed to Will and Cornelius. That way, it makes the girls seem more different. Gives them each different experiences and different ways of how they live their life. Of course, personally, if you ask me, I think at the moment Helen reveals her secret to Eric is going to be going, yay! My girlfriend's a superhero! But that's Eric. I love the idea of honor guard in that Caleb is smart enough to realize, hey, those 5 girls aren't going to be there to pull our fat butts out of the fryer forever. And it seems like an interesting start. I'm curious as to where this fic is going to go with this. I also think that the girls are done really well in character. Each one of their personalities shines through gloriously. Halen being silly and Piggy pious, Irma being snarky, Cornelia, of course, being a little combination of the two while being refined and delicate, Will being intelligent, and Tarani, of course, being serious and smart, but yet having a whole bunch of emotions onto her. I also like the build up, and the reason why I was going for so long rather than stopping after only a few chapters, I was really getting into it as each chapter made me want to go, okay, what's going to happen next? What is the next chapter? What is going to pop up next? What is going to show up soon? So I think I'll give more my final thoughts tomorrow when when I finish up the rest of this fic. Okay, maybe not tomorrow, maybe Sunday. I've got some things I need to do that are personal. I'll see you. But till then, I'm going to see you guys next time.